Okay, there were three things that you raised in your module analyses. The first was opportunity cost. The second was the production possibility frontier, and the third was economic rationality. So what I want to do is go over each of those fairly quickly because they're not that hard. If you don't understand what I tell you, then please, by all means, call me out and ask me to go over it again. All right, so first, let's go back to the modules because they have the pretty pictures. Here we go. All right. Okay, first here. Here is a picture of the budget constraint or the budget line. Okay, every one of us, except possibly Morgan because she's so rich. Notice the head slap there, guys. Faces a budget constraint, right? What that means simply is we can't have everything that we want. Hi, Amanda. I didn't notice you before. Glad you made it. Okay. Hi. Okay. So it's a simple idea. Really, it is. Okay. In this example, you have a budget of $10. You like to spend your budget on either burgers or bus tickets. Okay. The burgers cost $2. If you spent your entire $10 on burgers, how many burgers could you buy? Yes, you can look at the graph if you want to cheat.
5.
5. $10, $2 per burger goes 5 times into 10, right? And so right here, you can see that if you spent your entire budget on burgers, you could afford 5 of them. By the same logic, if you spend all of your money, all of your budget on bus tickets at 50 cents each, you could afford 20 bus tickets. That's this point down here. One thing that you can't afford is 5 burgers and 20 bus tickets. Why not?
Out of your budget?
Not only that, it would be twice your budget. It would be $20, and you don't have $20. You only have 10. Okay? So most of us divide our budget between different goods, burgers and bus tickets. And what that means is we operate somewhere along this curve, depending on how hungry we are and how much we want to get home, right? So let's look at the graph. The graph actually has a lot of useful information. Let's suppose we start at point B and we decide we want another bus ticket. Oh, this is a funky example. Okay, if we want another bus ticket, we're going to have to give up some burgers because we're spending our entire budget at point B. So to get one more bus ticket, we're going to have to forego some burgers. Okay, how many burgers do we have to forego? Well, that's easy. It's 4. Well, this is a crazy way to do the problem. Sorry, these are not really lined up for bus tickets. Okay, but I think you're going to be able to see what I'm talking about here. To go from point B to point C, to get more bus tickets, you have to give up burgers. In this case, you're going from 4 burgers to 3 burgers, and you're going from 4 bus tickets to 6 bus tickets. And so the trade-off there is 1 to 2. Giving up 1 burger will give you 2 bus tickets. 1 to 2, okay? The slope of the budget line, the rise over the run, always, always, always tells you what the opportunity cost is for bus tickets. The opportunity cost for bus tickets is the burgers you have to give up, right? So in this case, 2 bus tickets costs you, in opportunity cost terms, 1 burger, okay? 1 bus ticket costs a half a burger, right? The slope of the budget line or the budget constraint always shows the opportunity cost of what's ever on the x-axis. In this case, it's bus tickets, okay? Does anybody have questions about that part? I know I went kind of fast. If so, ask. Okay, now a production possibilities curve does the same thing in a different scenario. In the budget line scenario, we're deciding what combinations of two goods we as consumers want to buy. Okay, with a budget line, sorry, with a production possibilities curve, let me jump over to there. It's a very similar scenario. Just like with a budget, you have a fixed amount of dollars to spend. With a production possibilities curve, you have a fixed amount of resources, labor, capital, raw materials, land. Okay, and you can use those to produce either healthcare or, in this case, education. Okay, if you took all of your resources and you put them into healthcare, you would be on the healthcare axis at this point right here. Okay, we don't actually know what the number is, but conceptually, it's somewhere on the healthcare axis. Similarly, if we took all of those resources and we spent them on education, we're going to be on the education axis at a point like this one, F. Okay, most countries don't spend all of their resources on one good or another, and the US is no different. Instead, they choose some combination of the two goods, healthcare and education. Excuse me. The trade-off as you go from healthcare, all healthcare to some education, to more education, to all education, is this curved line here called the PPF or the PPC. It stands for Production Possibilities Curve or Frontier. It literally means what is possible, what can we produce, what is the maximum quantity of healthcare and education that we can produce as a nation given the limited resources that we have to work with. Now, the most important thing to see when you're thinking about comparing this to a budget line is both the budget line and the production possibilities curve are downward sloping from left to right. That reflects opportunity cost. In order to get more of one good, the only way is to accept less of the other good. The big difference between a budget line and a production possibilities curve is the budget line is a line. It's straight. It has a constant slope. A production possibility curve in the real world typically is a curved bowed away from the origin. All that means is that the more education that you the more education that you produce, the steeper the curve gets. And when the steeper the curve gets, then the higher the opportunity cost of that amount of education is, right? So education at first has a pretty low opportunity cost. You only have to give up a little healthcare. But by the time you get down to this end of the graph, the curve is really steep and you have to give up a lot of healthcare in order to get a little bit more education. But the bottom line is the same. The slope of the PPC, or the PPF in this case, I mean, they're the same thing. The slope of the curve is the opportunity cost of whatever's on the x-axis. All right. Does that make sense to you guys? Hopefully. Okay. There was one other question about these two, and it was the question of productive efficiency. What does productive efficiency mean? Okay, productive efficiency means you are producing on your curve. Okay, productive inefficiency means you're inside here. You're not using your resources efficiently. Typically, what that means is you have unemployment, right? Everybody is not working, and because they're not working, you're not producing at your potential. You're not producing as much as you could. So inefficiency is bad because it means we're not getting as much stuff, as much lifestyle, as much standard of living as we could, given the resources that are available. All right, any questions? All right. Okay, let's go back to the big screen. Awesome. Okay, now where should you be? We are in week 2. And what that means is you should have turned in assignments 1 and 2. You should have completed the research consent form also. You should have completed the first 3 Waymaker modules, which is the The first one is sort of module 0, how to use Waymaker, but also the 2 modules that we've been talking about tonight, okay? You should have worked your way through the modules, done the self-checks, done the try-its, finished the module quizzes, okay? If you haven't done those things, you are behind. Let me know how I can help you get caught up, okay? Because this class moves quickly. Okay, now a couple of other things. One, the point of the quizzes, whether we're looking at the self-checks or the module quizzes, is not merely for you to get the right answer. The point of the quizzes is for you to learn how to work the problems. Okay, it's knowing how to do the problems, which is the point. So as you work through the modules and as you do these various quizzes, slow down and think about it. Okay, think about how well you're learning this stuff. Okay, and as you do that, write down the stuff that's not clear to you, throw that into your module analysis and instant points. Doesn't get much easier than that. Okay, now the principal tool used by economists to analyze issues and problems is theories or models. They're the same thing, okay? Economists use theories or models to understand issues and problems, okay? We're gonna be doing that all semester long. I know you're excited, especially Becca, but she's just being diplomatic here. Okay, the first model, or really set of models that we're gonna be doing, is supply and demand, and that is the topic for this week. There are 2 modules. One is the basic supply and demand, and then the second one is applications of supply and demand. This is really, really important, okay? This is something that you need to know how to do. It's gonna be on the first exam. It's gonna be on the final exam. You're gonna wanna learn it, okay? What is nice about supply and demand is it allows you to analyze how markets work and shocks, disturbances to markets, okay? What's gonna happen to gasoline prices next week? Or what happened to gasoline prices last week? The answer to those questions you can figure out using the theories of supply and demand, okay? Okay, now, especially for the newbies who may not have had macro last semester, you don't have to work alone on this, okay? In fact, this upcoming assignment 3 is going to be the first assignment where the study groups are operating, okay? So I'm going to put you guys all in a group of 3 or 4 people, and you're going to work together on a bunch of the assignments from here on out, okay? Each group will turn in 1 assignment. If there are 4 people in your group, don't send me 4 different copies of the assignment, okay? Though when that's happened, it's a little scary sometimes because they're not always identical. So it's, you know, it's like you're hedging your bets or something. Anyway, so 1 submission per group. So here's the deal. This weekend, I'm gonna put the study groups together. If there's somebody in the class you wanna work with, let me know by this Friday and I'll put you guys together. Ideally, you should ask them. Okay, you shouldn't just toss them together, but that's okay. So tell me who you want to work with. I will put you in the same study group. It will work well.
You want us to just email that to you?
Yeah, please. That's
Okay.
the easiest way.
All right, cool.
Okay, Emily, what did you say? Yes. Christine, yes. Emily said, I want Amy. Now, the question is, will Amy say, I want Emily? I'll let you guys work that out. Okay.
Do you want everyone to email you?
Only if you want to work with somebody.
And like, if
Everyone,
I want to work with 2 people, do you want the other 2 people to also email you?
That would be best. Yeah, just so I know.
Okay.
You know, in case you're a stalker or something.
Oh, all right.
It's safer this way.
Okay.
Okay. Finally, it's your turn. What questions do you have about anything that I said or about anything that you tried to do this week, or anything. Okay, what questions do you have at this point? Morgan's question is probably, how many more minutes do I have before I have to go back to work?
I have 0.
Okay. See ya.
See ya.
There's always the video, the recording.
Okay, thank you.
Bye. Anybody else? Questions? Well, I'm not going to make you stay longer than you want to. And I've got dinner to go to. So, all right. Well, I will see you next week. And let me know if you have any questions in the meantime, and send me those module analyses. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Bye.
Yeah.